Former US President Donald Trump will host the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at his Palm Beach resort in Florida this week. Now, this comes as Netanyahu arrived in Washington on Monday for a multi-day visit. The meeting with Donald Trump, which was originally slated for Wednesday, has been shifted to Friday. The Republican presidential candidate announced on Truth Social that the postponement comes following a request from the Israeli leader. Before that, Prime Minister Netanyahu is scheduled to address a joint session of the Congress on Wednesday. This will make him the only foreign leader to do it for the fourth time. He will also meet President Joe Biden on Thursday and will separately meet Vice President Kamala Harris. In fact, Harris is expected to take up the war in Gaza during her meeting with the Israeli Prime Minister, asking him to stop the war. As per standard protocol, the Vice President is supposed to preside over the Congress address of the Israeli leader. However, she is expected to miss the session over an official trip. The Senate next in line to fulfill the role, Patty Murray, has declined to attend over the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. This comes as various Democrats have announced the boycotting of the Congress session.
Mr. President, I come to the floor today as a strong supporter of the U.S.-Israel relationship to talk about why it was such a big mistake to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to address a joint session of Congress and why I will not attend his speech tomorrow.
Groups of Democrat senators have confirmed that they will not attend the session and will instead spend their time to meet with the families of hostages. Now, this comes as the bereaved families are staging protests across locations in Washington. Jewish protesters took to the Capitol Hill to demand a ceasefire. These protests are expected to continue and even become bigger until the Israeli Prime Minister's Congress address.
That's why I'm here today, protesting the genocide of the Palestinian people and calling on our government to enact an arms embargo on Israel and send no more weapons to the Israeli military.
Even at home in Tel Aviv, hundreds marched to the Defense Ministry on Tuesday, demanding for a ceasefire ahead of Prime Minister's Congress address.
Tomorrow, my Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is going to have his speech in front of the Congress, and I'm really hopeful that tomorrow he's going to make us all feel whole again and tell us that the deal is taking place and that in the next week or two we are going to see our loved ones back with us.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, met with families of hostages on Monday, where he hinted at the possibility of a truce deal.
We are determined to bring them all back. The conditions to bring them back are ripening, for the simple reason that we are putting very, very strong pressure on Hamas, and we are seeing a certain change. And I think that this change will grow, and we intend to do it. This is a war goal.
And for more on this, our correspondent Jody Cohen sent us this report from Renana.
Right, so protests have been planned to coincide with Netanyahu's historic fourth address to Congress. Now, these protests are expected to be somewhat mixed, with some pro-Palestinian, some pro-Israel but anti-Bibi, and families of some of the hostages are holding a vigil on the National Mall. Now, we also may see some protests on the Congress floor. Some Democrats already have said that they won't attend, but some might attend to protest in some way there. And House Speaker Mike Johnson has warned of a zero-tolerance policy for any disturbances. Now, commentators are suggesting that for most on the Congress floor, the speech is likely to be a show of support for Israel. Remember, Netanyahu was invited by both houses to speak. For Netanyahu, he said that his visit would demonstrate bipartisan support for Israel, and he said that his aims are to press for freeing the hostages held in Gaza and to build support for Israel to continue confronting Hamas, Hezbollah and other Iranian proxies in the region. Right, so the families of the hostages will certainly be praying that a deal is announced. President Biden has said that mediators are on the verge of a deal, but we know that the talks are expected to continue on Thursday, which seems to suggest that the deal is not ready. Now, Netanyahu is likely to talk about his principles for a deal in his address to Congress, and he's reportedly told families of the hostages in Washington that conditions are getting closer to a deal because of the IDF's military pressure. Now, he may also address the new Chinese brokered agreements between Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, which could complicate the issue of governance in post-war Gaza. Now, Israel has denounced that agreement, and US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller has said that Hamas is a terror group who should have no role in governing. Now, on Thursday, Netanyahu is meeting with President Biden and Vice President Harris at the White House. On Friday, he'll be meeting with former President Trump in Florida. Netanyahu has suggested that his key message of the trip is that the US and Israel are standing together no matter who Americans choose to be their next president.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.